Keaton always said, I don't believe in God, but I'm afraid of him. Well, I believe in God. And the only thing that scares me is
Maxi. Hello everyone, and welcome to this Earth Machine edition of Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel. Maxi aside, I've been having a blast trying to get all the way from Rookie Tier to Platinum 1 in the past season, and I finally got it. As you can see, since I've played no games in the current season, I had a record of 66 wins and 21 losses, which is about a 75% win rate. Even discounting the near perfect record I had going all the way up until Platinum, I still won about 66% of my games, using solely Earth Machine and the OCG type list that I had to use going into this format. Throughout this video, I want to show my deck list and explain the changes I made to adjust to this Master Duel format, and then go over a couple games that I had that I thought were especially interesting or entertaining. I hope today you can learn a little bit about how to optimize Earth Machine and Master Duel, or maybe just learn a thing or two that you didn't think of in how to match up against some of the most popular meta decks in Master Duel. Here it is, the deck I used all the way from Rookie up to Platinum 1. I did not make a single change to this deck throughout my entire climb, and the changes I made from my TCG list were based on a single principle, or should I say two, but generally one. Not one was the addition of Max C. Max C is an insane card that allows you to send this card from your hand to the graveyard as a quick effect, and each time your opponent special summons a monster on that turn that you sent it from your hand, you can draw one card. Or more so, you have to draw one card. Now this effect is insane because it basically can stop your opponent's turns in their tracks, as most decks are based around the principle of special summoning a lot of monsters on one turn to end on a specific board of negations. And most have a very hard time ending halfway through, and even giving you 2 or 3 or 4 extra cards can really be the difference in the game. Any deck that doesn't play this card is generally debilitating itself, and it's very important that you run Max C in pretty much any deck you're playing, not just Earth Machine. However, in order to add Max C to the deck, I had to remove some of my utility cards, as I couldn't remove any of the engine cards. Those utility cards were things like Torrential Tributes and Ice Dragon's Prison in my previous list. Once I removed some of those, I realized that I probably shouldn't be including stuff like Trap Trick, and thus opted for a completely different set of utility cards in the deck. So, in addition to the Max C, I also added in 3 Forbidden Droplet, which is a great card of this deck that allows you to almost artificially fix your hands by sending cards from your hand or field to the graveyard. I also included 1 additional Urgent Schedule and 1 additional Called by the Grave. The Urgent Schedule was primarily because you will find yourself going second a lot, because there is only a best of 1 game in this ranked system, and most decks, almost all of them, want to go first. So Urgent Schedule being a great going second card is pretty important, and you want to see it a lot. Call by the Grave is very, very important, not just to protect yourself from hand traps like Max C, but also because on its own it's very strong against several decks, such as Sky Striker or Eldlich. The last addition we made to the deck was 1 additional Machina Overdrive to replace the Trap Trick that would generally generate another Machina Overdrive. So, to conclude, the differences between the main deck here and my TCG list were the addition of 3 Max C, 3 Forbidden Droplet, 1 Called by the Grave, 1 Urgent Schedule, and 1 Machina Overdrive. 3 Torrential Tribute, 2 Ice Dragon's Prison, 1 Trap Trick, and 3 Infinite Impermanence. In the extra deck, the one huge pivotal card that changed this deck was True King of All Calamities. This card is an insane rank 9 that allows you to detach 1 material from it and declare 1 attribute. And this turn, all face-up monsters become that attribute, and all of your opponent's monsters with that attribute cannot activate their effects or attack. So this card is crazy strong because it almost reads like a typo. Like when you read this card on first glance, you don't really probably think that it does what it does. You probably just think, oh, it's like a temporary attribute specific negation to your opponent's monsters. Kind of like a, like a quick effect Dark Ruler no more targeting a specific attribute, which would already be really good. But no, it's way better than that. Not only does it make all your opponent's monsters that one attribute, meaning that it potentially just messes up their plays, but it ensures that they will always be that attribute, so the effect negation will always apply to all of them. The effect is lingering, meaning that even if they out this card, you can still quick effect chain the effect and still negate all their effects for the rest of the turn. So just like Max C, this can really shut down your opponent's plays for a single turn. I replaced the Cleafort Genius that's included in my TCG list, as Cleafort Genius doesn't have a ton of uses in the deck. I chose to keep including the Phantom Fortress Enter Blathnir, despite having True King of All Calamities as an additional rank 9, as Phantom Fortress Enter Blathnir, while inferior to True King of All Calamities in most matchups, has a great effect, or series of effects, in most of your other matchups in which True King of All Calamities is not very useful, such as Eldlich, etc. So this is the list that I used to climb all the way to Platinum 1. I believe it's really well served and does very well in this current climate to allow you to climb, and I wouldn't make many changes. The only thing I would change, perhaps, is to add a few, probably 2 Ash Blossoms to the deck. Now, I personally have an aversion to Ash Blossom, and I really dislike the card, so I, out of a moral duty, choose not to include it. But if I were to try and make it as solely competitive as possible, I'd probably include 2 Ash Blossoms, replacing one of the Urgent Schedules and one of the Machina Overdrives, or perhaps one of the Anchor Drills. Also note that I keep 2 Anchor Drill in this deck, because I want to make easier access into True King of All Calamities. Not only does it mean that I will have easier access to True King of All Calamities more often, but it also is a great way to play when you're under Max C. So for example, if you play Anchor Drill and they chain Max C to it, all you have to do is give them 2 cards, but you can still get into True King of All Calamities, and you don't have to go into your full combo that would give them a ton of cards, and you don't have to end on nothing. So, and True King of All Calamities can often shut down decks completely, and you don't really care about the 2 cards they drew. So I believe that 2 Anchor Drill is actually pretty appropriate in this kind of deck. Now, with that being said, let's move on to the games in which we'll showcase this deck and its games in Platinum that I found the most entertaining. So in this first duel, we're against an opponent that we're going second against, with a hand that would unfortunately be very good going first. But we see here that they open up with just set 1 pass, which means that they probably bricked. So we're thinking maybe they bricked on something kind of breaky, like Sky Striker or something like that. We play our Metalcruncher to start out, and he plays Effect Failure. Now we're really thinking it's Sky Striker, you know? We play the Call by the Grave to negate the Effect Failure. Chain it, Chain Link 3. And he plays Imperm. Alright, so while we're a little sad we don't get the Metalcruncher here, it actually isn't very necessary. It was kind of a bait, because we have the Brutal Dozer and Dairy Crane in hand already, so we're perfectly fine with this. Effectively, we've gone 2 cards out of his, 2 interruptions out of him without actually doing anything. Now he's the Brutal Dozer, and now we get hit by Max C. So now we're a little sad, because now we can't actually extend. But, because we know he bricked, and because he only has 2 cards in hand, we decided just to stop here, and we can sit on this Overdrive, which will give us an interruption for next turn. So he draws his card for turn, and we see that he actually has the Fractal in hand that he must have drawn in one of those 2 draws. So he starts up his combo, the Nerval adds the Fractal to hand, Fractal will then normal summon itself, its effect will then banish 3 in order to get a monster, and we will chain Machina Overdrive because we don't know what he's getting here. So we're just going to get our monster out here. We get our Citadel out as an interruption. He goes ahead and gets the Eagle. The Eagle here allows him to shuffle monsters into his graveyard. And what we do here is we destroy the Eagle, and he only shuffles the Brutal Dozer back in, which is a little weird. Or sorry, only shuffles the Metalcruncher, which is even weirder. He extends beyond with the Karas and the Bear of Bloom, which means he's going to have a Tri-brigade Revolt in the end phase. He links them off into the Silver Sheller. We'll speed up here. adds the Tri-brigade Revolt to hand, shuffles whatever that other card is back into the deck, puts the Tri-brigade Revolt down, and now we know that he's actually going to have that one Vanish interruption here. So our plan here is we have to have a way to survive that one Vanish off of the Ominous Omen that's going to come off of the Link 4 that he gets when he activates the Tri-brigade Revolt. So luckily we drew this Forbidden Droplet that will allow us to do that. So continue on. So here he activates it. It's 4. And here he would probably attempt to banish the Trencher. Now we activate Droplet. Now here we actually probably should have pitched the Trencher here, because we could have then revived the Brutal Dozer here, but if we had pitched the Trencher and then revived the Brutal Dozer, we wouldn't have had this revive for later on, so it's really up in the air what should have been done here, because we can't OTK him through this anyways, so it's a tricky situation. Now we go ahead and we see he has the Chaos to hand as follow-up for next turn. And the Omen is negated, so that's good. He doesn't banish our monster. We go into our River Stormer, and now we can finally get into our main combo now that we're no longer under Max C. Add the Super Express Bolter in the hand. Special summon it. Link off the Stormer, so now speed through our normal combo. Goliath. Then Ballista. Ballista add Box. Box add Tunneler. Now uses his Silver Sheller to get back another Tri-brigade monster. Gets back the Nerval for protection. Tunneler now uses the Trencher to revive the Harvester. Harvester then links off into another, our second Goliath. Tribute the Goliath to the Tunneler. Tunneler then goes into our third Goliath. Link these two off for the Anger Knuckle. And now we have a really devious plan. So our plan here is that we are going to... We see that there's 1500 health, and we don't really think we're going to get another level 10 train out of the deck. We might, and we'll check, but we're gonna, well, we'll see. We shuffle them all back. So 1 Ballista, 3 Goliath, and 1 Brutal Dozer. We draw 2. Then we use the Overdrive to draw another card by shuffling the Tunneler, Trencher, and our second Brutal Dozer back into the deck. And we actually see we crash here with the Anger Knuckle into it, because as you can see, we actually have not used Anger Knuckle's first effect, which means since we can only use one of its effects per turn, we can use its second effect to revive it back. And not only will this destroy the Ominous Omen, but it will also allow us to get back our Citadel. And he adds a DD Crow here. Ooh, that is rough. So in theory, he should be banishing the Citadel here, but let's see what he does. So now I activate Citadel's effect, and then weirdly enough, he does not banish the Citadel here. He banishes the Anger Knuckle when we attempt to activate his effect, and I'm not sure why he does this. This is a bit of a misplan on his part. So never mind though, that's perfectly fine for us. Unless, of course, he can OTK us here with this Chaos that's in hand. Maybe that was his hope, is they didn't want to, you know, thought he could OTK us, perhaps, and he knew that we were going to win in the grind game anyways. But here he banishes 2, we max C him, and he goes and gets out the Ancient Warriors. Now, note here, for anyone who doesn't know, Ancient Warriors has an effect where you can send the card from your hand or field to the graveyard, then target a face-up card your opponent controls and return to the hand. So that's an interruption on our turn we don't really want to deal with. And he can't OTK us here, so he went into the battle phase and only dealt this much damage to us, so we're only at 2300, we're fine. And you see on the max C draw, we draw into Called by the Grave. So here, we make a critical decision, alright? He has the effect filler and plays the effect filler on the Anchor Drill, and we could Call by the Grave this. But I know from experience that Tri-brigade, well, players in general who use this card tend to tribute itself off for cost, kind of like a hieratic Dragon of Seals, that one in Dragon Link. So I believe that despite the fact that he could send off the Karass here, just out of force of habit, he will tribute this card off, or might. And by bluffing that we don't have the Call by the Grave for this effect failure, it's even more likely that he'll do so. So we just let him effect failure this, which is perfectly fine since you have the Brutal Dozer in hand. But it is a gamble, of course, because if he sends this, then we can't Call by the Grave it. So, get these two, link it off into Goliath to get the River Stormer. River Stormer pops the Goliath to, and then attach it back. And now he activates and he sends the Ancient Warriors to the graveyard for cost. Like we suspected, we Call by the Grave it, and now we have him. And now it's definitely 100% lethal, so we can do our standard rank 10 follow-up combo. Attach the Goliath to the River Stormer, find our second and final Dairy Crane, go into Anger Knuckle. Anger Knuckle will now pitch the Harvester for the Bullet Train, use Dairy Crane's effect to come onto the field, and now we'll go into our Gustav Max. Gustav Max will now deal damage, pop the Karass, and now we can go into Juggernaut Lieb, and it is lethal, and he surrenders right here. Whew. Now, I thought this was a really cool game because it really demonstrated the power and effectiveness of bluffing and making sure that you think of considerate, like very careful plays. If our opponent had really thought about what was optimal in that situation to send for the Ancient Warriors card, he might have actually been able to survive a little longer in the game. In addition, if he had thought to DD Crow a different card, he might have been able to win the grind game better. But he didn't, so in this case, he lost. So this one we start off and we win the die roll. Yes, we do. And we draw an okay hand. It's not the best, not the worst. A little too high on the Infinitracks, but it's alright. Normal Summon Harvester, and we get Ash Blossom. So this is the one thing I want to say. When you look at getting Ash Blossomed here, it tells us one particular thing, other than that we just got Ash Blossomed, which is that this player probably is not used to playing against Earth Machina, doesn't know exactly what his deck does. Because this is not, Harvester is not the card you want to Ash Blossom. This Harvester is the easiest card in the deck for this deck to play through, in that you can play through literally everything. Like, if you have another Earth Machine, like a level 10 Earth Machine, you can go ahead and just make you can make Zeus here because it only negates that effect, the one that adds from deck to hand. If you have Brutal Dozer already in hand, if you have Heavy Forward in hand, like there's so many options here that would allow you to play through an Ash Blossom here. And so we just keep in mind that we probably know this player doesn't know what Earth Machine does, so we're just gonna maybe can abuse that a little bit. We'll see. But for right now, we can play through as normal. So we go ahead and we try to go into our normal combo. Brutal Dozer goes into Trencher, River Stormer, let's speed through. You guys know what's happening here. River Stormer adds Bullet Train, Special Summon Bullet Train, link off River Stormer, make Ballista. Ballista will add Box. Box will add Anchor Drill since we already have a Tunneler. That Anchor Drill is going to be very important, as we'll see later. Harvester will now come out due to the Trencher, link it off into another Goliath. And now, note here that we special summon the Tunneler here. And I've seen some people go ahead and not actually special summon the Tunneler here. They will discard it using the Anger Knuckle. And when I started playing this deck, I thought, why not discard it using the Anger Knuckle to just get out your Express Bullet Train? That way you effectively save a monster in hand, you know, because the Tunneler will be sent out later in the turn, as opposed to having to send the Box or something, or some other card in your hand for cost for the Anger Knuckle, potentially. And there's several reasons why that's very bad. The first is that you don't actually gain an extra card, quote-unquote, like I was saying, by sending the Tunneler here, via Anger Knuckle effect. Because if you do, you're getting out the Bullet Train again, and the Bullet Train would give you a card back in the end phase. Right? So you're taking a card effectively out of your hand by not having the Bullet Train in your graveyard, and but you're keeping one in your hand by pitching the Tunneler later, so it's like it's a net negative, or net zero, sorry. And secondly, the main reason is that if you go ahead and draw into a Dairy Crane, you want to be able to make your Dora, and you can't do that if you pitch Tunneler with it, as the Bullet Train will come out, and then the Tunneler will have to be drawn, and then by the time you drew the Dairy Crane, it's too late, and you have no other summons to do. So, in conclusion, always go for Tunneler here, as opposed to pitching it later with Anger Knuckle. We do that, we make our third Goliath, link summon the Knuckle, and now use Tunneler to shuffle back our Ballista and 3 Goliaths into the deck, as well as the Brutal Dozer. Another thing I've heard people be like, I don't know what to, shuffle back in the deck, Brutal Dozer or Harvester. It's always Brutal Dozer. Brutal Dozer is way worse in the graveyard. It doesn't do anything in the graveyard. It only gets defective as special summon from the hand, and the harvest, and there's no reason you need a level 5 in the graveyard for some reason, because you already made River Stormer, and River Stormer you're going to get out the next turn via its effect to tribute your Goliath and then attach the Goliath to it. So Harvester gets its effect from the graveyard, even if it comes from the graveyard, that is, and it's way better with your level 10 machines like Bullet Train. So always keep Harvester in the graveyard over Brutal Dozer if you can. We draw 2. We don't actually draw any interruptions here, and in the end phase we add back to Harvester, but unfortunately we have 7 cards in hand, which means we need to discard the box. And now we see we are against the Golden Boy. He has the Eldlich, and since we know that Eldlich does not special summon very much, we pitch our Maxi right now so that we can just cycle it away, since we know he only special summons once or twice a turn anyways. We also use the Knuckle in case he has some shenanigans that he could do. Alright, resolve. Yeah. And funnily enough, he does have some shenanigans. He has Zombie World, which is the absolute worst card he could have for us. That card is almost worse than Skill Drain in this matchup. It's like a Skill Drain that affects monsters on the field and in the graveyard almost. It's so disgusting against our deck, and normally this would be an insta scoop for us. But there is a way here with this current setup that we can actually play through it, and I wonder if you guys can see what it is. But now we'll show it. We normal summon the Anchor Drill and get out the Dairy Crane, which is the only way we could get Dairy Crane on the field here. Now we go ahead and make Dora, and even though the Conquistador is going to pop the Dora in response to its effect here, we still get our goal, which is to pop the Dairy Crane and therefore pop his Zombie World, and now we can go into our normal combo. So now we do our normal follow-up, link off the Trencher for Goliath. Now we get out the Anger Drill, and this time we get it out because we want its secondary effect to boost and make Earth Slicer, and you might see now what this Earth Slicer is going to do. It'll only pop the Conquistador because we don't want to just kill the Eldlich, we want to consume it. Now we bring out the Bullet Train. Dairy Crane will use its effect since we didn't actually use Dairy Crane's effect. Remember, we used Anchor Drill's effect to get it out. Now we make the Gustav Max pop, Lieb, and now we consume it with Earth Slicer, and even without the Earth Slicer's 3100 attack, we still have lethal, and we've consumed his Eldlich in case he had some funny business to stop us from lethal, and there it is. We kill him on our turn 2, and that is how Earth Machine, with a good setup and a little bit of luck, can actually play through Zombie World against Eldlich. So in this duel, we find ourselves going first, which is very fortunate, but unfortunately we have an unplayable hand. We can't even make Ballista here because we have the box in hand and wouldn't do anything. So we just have to set 2 and pass. They draw for turn, and we immediately see we're against some Golden Boys. He pitches the Cursed Eldland for the Golden Lord, then pitches the Scarlet Sanguine for the Golden Boy to come back onto the field. Then gets the Conquistador on the field. We chain Urgent Schedule to this, or after the summon, we activate that. Getting out of Fortress, so now they can pitch the Citadel because our Forbidden Droplet was destroyed by the Golden Boy. We destroy his Conquistador so that he doesn't get the pop. He banishes it to get the Sanguine. Yep. And then on our turn, we're able to go ahead and get into our own fortress by pitching Citadel. So there's two good things here. Gets Citadel in the graveyard, gets Fortress on the field. He gets his second Golden Boy, which is a little unfortunate. We go ahead and decide to try and go for a rank 10 play here and force out whatever this second card, face down card is. We pitch Anger Knuckle itself since we don't have another monster we want to pitch, and we want to keep this Fortress for pop. And he chains Max C. Ugh, disgusting. So unfortunately, now we really don't want to continue, because even 2 more summons after this one would be giving him a pot of greed, and that's just not worth it, since we're not killing him this turn anyways. Instead, we just ram our Fortress into his Golden Boy and destroy his second face down card, which is a Golden Land forever, which is great, because now our Urgent Schedule will be able to go off on the following turn. Here he banishes the Sanguine to get another Golden Land spell trap card. We get our Anchor Drill and our Bullet Train. We want Anchor Drill for that previous interaction we saw where we were able to make Earth Slicer, so maybe we can consume one of his Golden Boys. And we see he has a third Golden Boy in the graveyard. Oh my gosh, so many Golden Boys. Here he rams into our Bullet Train. We'll be getting resources back in the end phase with that. And he actually gives us the Citadel here, which is super nice. So now we can actually just go ahead and pop our own Citadel, destroying both his monsters and reducing him to 1 Golden Boy here. He gets rid of the Torrential Tribute, which is awesome for us, because playing through Torrential Tribute at the initial stages of our combo is rather difficult. And now he's only at 1 face down, 1 Golden Boy, so we're feeling pretty good here. We add the box back to our hand for turn so that we can add a Trencher to our hand, since we haven't already used the box in any way. Gets us a 2 for 1, and now we have fodder for Fortress as well. Use Trencher, tributing the Anchor Drill to start off, and we want to get this Extender in the graveyard so we have this as backup in case this face down card is something like another Torrential Tribute, right? We at least have a way out. Link it in the Goliath, activate Trencher, get the Harvester. Harvester will add the Tunneler here. Dozer will activate its effect. Get a second Trencher from the deck. And now we'll go ahead into our River Stormer, and we'll speed up since we know what's going to happen here. Here we will add Metalcruncher as fodder for Fortress, since we don't actually have any other ranked or level 10 monsters in the deck to go get. Go ahead into Anger Knuckle for our rank 10 play. Go ahead and make Dora, since we want protection from whatever this face down card is. Make Fortress. Ram once again into the Golden Boy to destroy the face down card. We'll see what it is. And it is another Conquistador. So here we use Trencher's effect to shuffle back, draw 2. So here it's actually pretty close to being able to kill him, since you might be thinking there's a fancy play where you could detach the dairy. So this obviously can't be destroyed by card effects, so we have to ram over it. But maybe there was a way in which we could have detached the Dairy Crane to pop something on our field to get the Citadel out and be able to fully run over it and kill him. It's pretty close, but I don't think it's quite there in terms of damage. And this effect will wear off by the end of the turn. There's another line of play we maybe could have done as well, where we try and make Enter Blathnir, and go ahead and revive this Anchor Drill and do something with that to banish this Golden Boy, but I felt Enter Blathnir was pretty risky against whatever this face down card was, so I wasn't really up for it. And sure enough, that was true, since if that was the case, he would have destroyed the Enter Blathnir. So I think it's a decent line to play, and this way we know. See, I'm in the position where I'm thinking we can just win the grind game, so it's fine. We detach the Bullet Train in the end phase to get another card back. Bullet Train will give us our Anchor Drill back, so we have follow-up to get Dingirsu or whatever we want, maybe just the Metalcruncher. Max C is Sanguine, since we are not going to get many other draws out of the Max C in the future. He gets another Golden Lord out. And now we activate Citadel, destroying both. He sets another card. And now we pop that card so that he cannot get any more Golden Boys out. and we revive back the Citadel. I'm not sure why I revived back the Citadel here. Yeah, that was probably just a misclick or something. But it didn't matter. He ended up forfeiting. So, even though there were a few plays in this game that were somewhat questionable for me, I wanted to illustrate that even with horrible hands in Earth Machine, you can still truck through and persevere in the face of really, really terrible opening hands in which you draw, multiple bricks. So yeah, even against a deck like Eldlich, you can still persevere. Alright, in this next duel, we have to go second, unfortunately. We lose the coin toss, but we have a decent hand going second. Not the greatest, but not the worst. Fortress is really good at extending through stuff. And now we see where it gets Prank Kids. So, he opens up with his, Meow Mew, Lampsies, then goes into the Fansies, then Doodle Doo. And Fansies gets its effect, Doodle Doo gets its effect, Doodle Doo will add the Pandemonium deck to hand. Yep. We'll speed through his stuff. He pitches the plan for the Dropsies. Then Pandemonium makes the Rocket Ride. Rocket Ride's effect will have it lose attack for no apparent reason. And then he gets the Doodle Doo, Lampsies, yep, and makes the Bow Wow Bark here. Bow Wow Bark for our turn so that he can make his monsters immune to our card effects and add fodder for Pandemonium. So now we know, so going into this turn, we saw that we know he has one Pandemonium, one plan, and we know that there's probably one other card that's unknown in these three. So we got to be careful here about what we do, since we know that there's, the Pandemonium will make the Battle Butler. This will give them the materials for that Battle Butler, the Bow Wow Bark will. And then there's one other card, so we just have to be careful with that one other card, since the plan doesn't do very much. It only allows him to link summon on our turn. So, yeah. So here we try to activate, or just let me get Ash Blossomed. Ooh, that's rough, because that would have been so nice to get out of Citadel here with Fortress and all. Instead, we activate Metalcruncher, and we try to get the Citadel in the hand. We do get the Citadel, which is awesome here. And now we kind of start, we want to get into our rank 9 play, at least threaten it, because if we get into Shrieking Ball Calamities, the game's probably over. But here we just go into our Ballista, try and get in there. And he Effect Veilers us, which is a bit obnoxious, because now we can't get into our box, and therefore the Trencher, and therefore revive back. So instead we pitch the Citadel for the Fortress, and now he gets us with the Battle Butler. But unfortunately he is too late, since we already have the Citadel in graveyard, and Citadel's going to come back here. Note, however, that because of Bow Wow Bark, which he activated, his Prank Kids monsters cannot be destroyed by my card effects this turn. So this Citadel would have to be for next turn. He activates Battle Butler, destroying all my stuff. Dropsies will get one and gain him 1,000. Lampsies will get one, add him 1,000. And then Fansies will get one. And now I try to activate Citadel, and it gets called by the grave. That was the third card in this field that we had to be careful of. And that's highly unfortunate here. So we don't get our Citadel, but then we can at least get Fortress back here, get a heavy fort to that. And now, funnily enough, through all those interruptions, we're just going into our main combo. Of course, we have Battle Butler that's probably going to interrupt us, but we're still just going. Link off or Xyz River Stormer, add the Bullet Train, and we're just rumbling right now. And now he activates the Battle Butler to destroy all his stuff, but we already have the Trencher, which is nice, because now we can get the Harvester, and the Harvester's effect is not activated this turn. And with that Battle Butler gone, we're actually in an okay situation where it's not looking like we're going to be OTK'd next turn. So now with the Harvester, we had Tunneler, since we don't have the Tunnel yet, since we weren't able to resolve the Ballista. Go Tunneler, Goliath. Goliath here, we go into the River Stormer, and then we link off the... Or sorry, we activate the Tunneler here first. And now we link off into Goliath again, because we want to get rid of at least one of his prank kids. And we drew into an Urgent Schedule, which is awesome here. That's going to be super good on our turn. And he activates on his turn the Cosmic Cyclone, which is the card he top decked, against the Urgent Schedule here. So that's awesome because we still get Urgent Schedule effect. So that means the Cosmic Cyclone is effectively a dead draw for him. He sets one. Which, let's see if we know what this set card is. Do we know what it is? I'm not sure if we do. I'm pretty sure we should know what it is, but... Anyways, we will soon see. Anyways, he links off into Access Code here. So we're actually feeling okay, because even though Access Code is going to do a lot of damage to us here by destroying all our monsters and attacking directly, we know that he can't ZTK us. So, perfectly okay. And now we have a spare Trencher in the graveyard. So now we know, unless this card here is something crazy, we know we pretty much have him. I believe we don't know what this card is, actually. So now we have Goliath here. River Stormer, you know, standard follow-up. Get the River Stormer, attach the Goliath. Detach, get the Dairy Crane. Yep, go into our Anger Knuckle, pitch the box, get out the Bullet Train, then get the Dairy Crane next. Make Gustav Max. And destroy his access code here. We attach this so we can keep going in. And he has Solemn Judgment. Oh my gosh, Solemn Judgment, that's crazy. So we still get a ton of damage here, but now we know he's pretty much out of gas. He's just pure top decking now. And we, as long as he doesn't have anything crazy, will win next turn. And look, he has a Prank Kids Pranks, which does absolutely nothing here since he has nothing to discard. And beautiful, now we can crush him. Activate the Overdrive on the Bullet Train that we got via the Anger Knuckle. Get Metalcruncher, reveal some fodder for Fortress to come out. So he draws a card at the end phase, but we don't care about that. We have Lethal on board. And that's it. So there you go. Here's an example how, you know, Earth Machine can really play through a ton of interruptions. And even when one of your primary recovery forms, in terms of Citadel, gets banished, you can still recover through most of those interruptions. And I thought this was an awesome game that showcased that.